The pounding on my front door shook the glass like gunfire splitting open the dawn. I snapped awake, heart racing, already braced for disaster. As I yanked the door open, standing there was Karen Whitfield, HOA president, her red lipstick drawn sharp, like a warning flare. Her arms were folded tight, chin lifted, eyes not on me, but aimed past my shoulder toward the flash of chrome inside my garage. "My Harley, you need to hand over that motorcycle," she said flatly, as if quoting scripture instead of nonsense. "It's non-compliant, and my son will take better care of it." The absurdity stunned me. Hand over my Harley, the same bike I rebuilt, bolt by bolt, after my brother's accident. The last piece of him I still had. My voice cracked like brittle wood. "Karen, you've lost your mind." She leaned closer, her perfume slicing through the chill morning air. "You've been warned. The board already voted. Either you surrender it, or I escalate." Her words hung heavy, ridiculous yet threatening. Behind her, the neighborhood slowly stirred, sprinklers ticking, a jogger slowing to eavesdrop, curtains shifting. She knew exactly what she was doing, staging a scene. I shut the door in her face, but my pulse thrashed on. Minutes later, through the blinds, I saw her pacing at the edge of my driveway, phone to her ear, eyes burning. I didn't know then, but she was already calling the police. The knock returned 30 minutes later, this time, accompanied by the crackle of radios. Red and blue lights splashed across my siding. 2 officers stood on the porch, polite, but firm. "Sir," one said, "we received a complaint. Something about stolen property." Karen's voice cut in before I could respond. She appeared at the curb, waving like a movie director, calling action. "That's it. That motorcycle belongs to me, well, to my son. He was promised it. This man is holding it hostage." I almost laughed, but the hard edge in the officer's eyes killed the impulse. One officer glanced at the Harley, then at me, as if weighing conflicting realities. "This is ridiculous," I muttered, stepping forward. "That bike is mine, title and all. She's trying to steal it." The taller officer sighed, caught between a petty HOA feud and something poised to explode. "Sir, do you have paperwork to prove ownership?" My stomach tightened. The title was in the safe, sure. But what shook me was Karen's certainty, how she spoke like truth folded itself around her will, and the crowd gathering on the sidewalk seemed ready to believe her. Suspicion had been planted, and once it takes root, it spreads faster than wildfire. I bolted upstairs, heart drumming. The officers waited below like judges about to rule. My fingers fumbled with the safe dial until it clicked open. Inside was the worn manila envelope, my Harley's title, insurance, and every rebuild receipt. Proof written in ink. When I returned, Karen had stepped closer, her voice sharp and theatrical. "You see, officers? He hides behind locked doors because he knows he's guilty. That machine isn't just non-compliant, it's dangerous. My son deserves it, and the board agrees." I snapped the papers down on the porch table. "Here, every document. My name, my signature, my bike." The shorter officer studied them, lips tightening as he read. Karen's confidence wavered for the first time, but she didn't retreat. She jabbed a manicured finger at me. "He forged those. He's clever. Ask the HOA we filed complaints." The taller officer pinched the bridge of his nose, exhausted. "Ma'am, the paperwork is valid. Unless you have legal documents proving otherwise, there's no theft." Karen's smile thinned, but her eyes stayed hungry. "Don't worry, officers. I'll take this higher." She meant it. When the cruisers finally rolled away, silence returned, but not peace. Neighbors lingered, whispering, some nodding toward Karen like disciples awaiting orders. I pushed the Harley deeper into the garage and slammed the door, but I still felt their eyes on me. That night, a scraping noise pulled me from restless sleep. I crept to the window and froze. Karen's son, Tyler, 16, lanky, hoodie pulled low, was at my garage door with a crowbar. I stormed outside, flashlight cutting through the dark. "Drop it!" He jumped, but Karen stepped out from the shadows, calm and smug. "He's just checking for code violations." "You're hiding hazards." "Hazards?" I barked. "Breaking and entering is a felony." He stepped closer, voice syrup smooth. "Or a misunderstanding." Unless you want the HOA to escalate again. You've made enemies here. And the board doesn't forget. I held her gaze, fury burning hotter than the summer night. You've crossed a line, Karen. You want war? Fine, but I don't fight small. For the first time, she blinked just once. But it told me she hadn't expected resistance. I locked the garage with the new chain and called a locksmith at dawn. What she didn't know was that I'd already made another call, one she couldn't intimidate. The state attorney's office. The line crackled as I explained everything: the false police report, the attempted break-in, the harassment. The clerk listened carefully, then said, "We'll review this. HOA abuse of authority isn't uncommon. Keep documentation. Expect a follow-up." For the first time in days, I exhaled. Hope flickered, but Karen wasn't slowing down. By midweek, an official-looking letter was taped to my door. A violation notice. The HOA claimed my Harley was an unregistered nuisance vehicle. The wording was bold, stamped, crafted to intimidate. At the bottom, Karen's signature gleamed like a victory flag. I set the letter on the kitchen table beside the title, insurance, and the HOA bylaws I'd pulled online. The bylaws mentioned nothing about motorcycles or surrendering personal property. She was inventing rules, weaponizing paperwork. That evening, as I photographed everything, a phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered, and Karen's voice slid through like a blade. Thought you'd get clever with lawyers. The state attorney can't protect you from your neighbors. We'll make sure you're outcast until you cave. My son will ride that Harley one way or another. I clenched the phone. You're digging your own grave, Karen. Her laugh was cold, practiced. We'll see whose grave gets filled first. Click. Silence. Later that night, headlights swept across my driveway. Through the blinds, I saw Tyler again, this time with two friends. They circled like wolves, pointing, snickering, snapping pictures of the garage. I stepped outside, phone recording. Get off my property, I warned. Last chance. One of them sneered. HOA says this isn't even yours. Karen's poison was spreading. The next morning, I gathered everything: photos, recordings, the bogus violation notice, and drove to the county building downtown. The state attorney's office felt sterile and fluorescent, thick with the weight of bureaucracy. Finally, a man in a gray suit sat across from me, flipping through my folder. His eyes narrowed when he hit Karen's forged letter. "This," he said, tapping the page, "is fraud. And with the attempted break-in, we may be looking at criminal trespass. You did the right thing coming here." His words landed like armor across my chest. For the first time, Karen's little empire didn't feel invincible. But my relief vanished when I pulled into my driveway and saw something waiting on my porch. Another letter. This only sealed in red. The envelope looked official at first glance, but the wax seal gave it a theatrical cruelty. I slid it open with my house key and unfolded a single sheet of paper. Final notice. Surrender the motorcycle within 72 hours or face legal seizure under board authority. In a letterhead. No statute numbers. Just a demand dressed up as law. At the bottom, Karen's looping signature sprawled bold and arrogant, as if her pen alone carried the weight of a judge's gavel. I crushed the paper in my fist. Enough was enough. That evening, I met with Detective Alvarez, the liaison the state attorney's office connected me with. Sharp-eyed, calm, the kind of person who could freeze a wildfire in its tracks. I laid everything out before her. Where's photos and recordings? She listened, then leaned back. This isn't an HOA issue anymore, Alvarez said. This is extortion, harassment, and attempted theft. She's crossed multiple lines. Her words felt like steel reinforcing my spine. But she wasn't finished. You'll need patience. Webbolt this case carefully. Don't provoke her. Let her make the next mistake. Patience wasn't easy. By the next night, Karen staged another spectacle. As I rolled the Harley out to warm it up, porch lights clicked on like stage lamps. Neighbors drifted outside, murmuring. Then Karen arrived, clipboard in hand, Tyler shadowing her. There, she shouted, pointing as though unveiling a crime. Noise violation. This is exactly what the bylaws forbid. The engine purred low, steady, not even loud. Still, she thrust her clipboard toward the crowd, we'll fine him, and when he can't pay, the bike is ours. That's how community rules work. I killed the engine and faced them. That's not how law works. And you're about to learn that the hard way. Her eyes narrowed. Threats won't save you. Lies won't either. The crowd buzzed some waver, others nodding like her puppets. But in a few faces, I caught a flicker, doubt, cracks affirming in her control. That night, as I secured the Harley, my phone buzzed with the voicemail. Alvarez's voice was steady but urgent. We found something. Karen's been using a falsified HOA stamp signing off as if she had authority. She doesn't. This strengthens your case. But be careful. Cornered people lash out. I stared at the garage door, feeling her warning settle deep. Because across the street, under the dim street lamp, Karen stood watching. And she was smiling. The morning sun painted the cul-de-sac gold, but the air felt brittle, charged. I wheeled the Harley onto the driveway, partly to test the engine, and partly to test Karen. Her blinds snapped open. Moments later, she marched out, Tyler trailing her like a shadow. You had your chance, she announced, voice echoing. Today, the board takes what's ours. 2 HOA members appeared behind her, clipboards drawn like weapons. Neighbors gathered again, hungry for spectacle. Karen strutted onto my driveway, heels clicking like a metronome of control. A step aside. The board authorizes me to seize this nuisance vehicle. I stood firm. Phone recording. Touch it, and you'll regret it, she smirked. The law is on my side. That's when sirens wailed down the street. Red and blue lights washed over stucco walls. Detective Alvarez's cruiser pulled up, followed by another squad car. The crowd shifted. Karen's smile faltered, then returned thin, strained. Alvarez stepped out, papers in hand. Karen Whitfield, she called, her voice slicing clean through the morning air. Karen straightened. Detective, perfect timing. Arrest this man for theft and harassment. Alvarez ignored her, unfolding the documents. You are under investigation for forgery, harassment, and attempted grand theft. These notices, she lifted Karen's fake letters, contain falsified signatures and stamps. The words hit like a hammer. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Tyler's face went chalk white. Karen's mask shattered. That's absurd. I am the law here. The board supports me. One HOA member stepped back, shaken. We never authorized this, Karen. You forged our names. Her eyes darted, desperate. No, you're lying. Alvarez's tone sharpened. Karen Whitfield, you're coming with us. The cuffs clicked. Her arms jerked behind her. For the first time, her voice trembled. This isn't over. My son, he deserves. Her words drowned beneath the low rumble of the Harley as I revved it, slow and deliberate. The crowd scattered, some murmuring apologies, others avoiding me entirely. Tyler stood frozen, fists tight, before bolting into the house. When the cruiser drove away, Alvarez turned to me. You did the right thing calling us. But stay sharp. People like her don't accept defeat. Quiet. I nodded, the Harley's rumble echoing her warning. The net had tightened, but the battle wasn't finished. The neighborhood changed after Karen's arrest. Quieter, but not healed. Curtains still twitched when I passed. Some neighbors nodded cautiously. Others avoided me. Power doesn't disappear, it waits for a new hand to claim it. One evening, as I polished the Harley under the garage light, footsteps scraped across the driveway. I turned to see Tyler. His hoodie sagged, his face pale with sleepless anger. She promised me the bike, he muttered, eyes glassy. She said it was mine. You ruined everything. I set the rag down slowly. Your mom lied, Tyler. She used you. This was never about you writing. It was about control. He shook his head violently. You don't get it. Everyone's laughing at us now. You took her down. You made me nothing. For armament. I thought he might lunge, but instead, his shoulders collapsed. What happens to her? He whispered. She'll face court, I said softly. She made her choices. But you still have time to make better ones. His gaze flicked to the Harley, longing, bitterness, confusion. Then he turned and slipped into the night. Weeks later, the trial began. Karen, in a gray suit, tried to summon her old authority, but the courtroomer stripped away her theatrics. The evidence towered: fake seals, forged signatures, recordings of threats. Alvarez testified with razor precision. I sat silently, Harley keys in my pocket, a reminder of everything she tried to take. The verdict came fast. Guilty on multiple counts. Karen's sharp gasp echoed like a door slamming shut. She looked back once, eyes full of venom, before being led away. Outside, Alvarez clasped my shoulder. Justice doesn't fix everything, but it stops the bleeding. I nodded, sunlight glinting off the courthouse steps. That evening, I finally took the Harley out for a ride the first time in weeks without scanning for shadows. The wind cut through the last of the tension, replacing it with something lighter. But as I slowed near the cul-de-sac, movement caught my eye. Tyler stood on the curb, watching. No hatred now, just hollow quiet. I killed the engine, letting the stillness settle. For a long moment, we stared across the gap of everything Karen had built and destroyed. Then I turned the key. The Harley roared back to life, and I rode on. The fight was over, but the echo, the reminder of how fragile peace can be, would stay on that street. And so would I. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next showdown.